how's it today breaking your rotzen and that which is mutter and draw upon yourself Kedusha? Yeah, rotzen and mitzvah is Charachter because the rotzen of the person, the will, the desire of the person is the fortress. That's a Charachter. The other side, the Kedusha. Kedusha is the shul to nefesh shel coming on. That's where the nefesh shel coming on with the lives. Because there's no full set coming. There's no mazet. Yaakov and Esau, and Yitzchak. So Kamodis were told us Yaakov Yosef by them when he said Shein Makom Yitzchak Zaras Bottom Elam Yechid. He says the way that Yitzchak gets to do persons to eating and drinking. The Elo Hochem the Darkecha are passing off Tov, but if you like the Torah says passing off Tov, I mean Pashat. And Yitzchak has so Tom of all the means of Makom Shiur with the person. Yitzchak uses fire with that person to get him to do Kedusha. But Zed is not a there. He has no idea. The more even than mutter, you add closer, you add extras. That's the Yitzhak. There are other shopping up. This is the way the person why you say Aish will down on the person who says Aish and do what you can in this world to calm down the Yitzhak. That Moshe says Shashmati me echem b'gol Torah. See if Shlomo said I heard this morning b'gol Torah. The Aish I will show on the street what's positive need. Imagine a guy wearing a very fancy spitzy watch. Gold, not expensive. The Nafal Shom Sof Yoros I'm supposed to eat a boiling pot of soup. Boil. Gammon and Hilo called Eitza Elef Mrs. Yadav Hashem. If you have another Eitza except to stick your hand into the pot, how the mice and Nichad Yadav, you're going to get burnt. And you want your lock it, you're going to get burnt. No other way around. Mokin says, so you know, now, always. Even if you manage even to live, any type, even if you live, you have a type to eat the basic morsels. Cold, nashim Kedusha in the face. So, your holy soul is going to get burned. It's going to get burned a little bit. You have to know that. No matter what. It doesn't mean it's going to be anything bad. You have to be conscious that everything that's mutter is considered a Muslim. Amar says, the Kodesh of the teps. The teps says, quotes it, Kol Hana Afil Hekter. Any Hana is even a Hekter, it separates Jew from so therefore, if a person, what? So we say it's therefore if a person tries to, every time he has enough, he comes beyond Darkecha. Every Hana is Afil, he is raising expenses, and you're trying to tend to Kodesh, which some months is very helpful. If you can do that, so then your Hana, the Gash is really Hana's Kodesh. But a person's not, therefore, the limit, you have to do what you have to do. Try to limit.
Opening it up, beginning it. That was like part of its not for like.
Yeah.
It's not for like. Cigars, selling more wine.
They say hold.
Yeah.
He was in control.
Yes.
Extremely fast. He would go get the work. The ball Muslim.
Way to show yourself.
No.
But the days of the R&B actively go out and create everything. To go to the trade, open it.
How would I go with 20 pounds of weights? How would I actually go?
That's how it works.
You don't have to.
I think we are.
It's not the beginning of the model. It starts slow.
How are you? Enjoyed the thing? It's nice, right? Thank the Parnes HaShana, sponsoring Shiur, לעילוי נשמת גדליה, שמעון, שמעון, Kedusha, Simcha Nachis and Amen. So we were learning the Maimer of Kedusha. We really finished it, except with the exception of the section on mikveh, which maybe at some point we'll come back to. It's more of a practical Avodah. Well, the COVID, the time that we're in, I wanted to begin to learn this Maimer on Simcha, Mahi Simcha. Simcha, page Kuf Mem Hey. Simcha. We've learned all the time that Mishnichnas Oda Mar B'Simcha doesn't mean that automatically a person becomes happy because of the change on the calendar. You see that generally is not how things work. Just because you wake up in the morning and it's Ada doesn't mean that everything is gewaldig and that the person's B'Simcha. Simcha is not Avoda. Simcha is not Avoda. It's one of the midas and nefesh. We spoke about this many times, and it's a good time to work on this. Page Kuf Mem Hey. First, Mahi Simcha. Achiyul L'Smach. Hisparsim Yisrael. Masha Kosu V'Svar Makadoshim. It's from Rabbi Nachman. Mitzvah Gdalias B'Simcha Tamid. So that became, of course, very well known because of the song. But the words are really a chiddush. We need to understand them. It's a great mitzvah Gdalias B'Simcha Tamid. It's a great mitzvah to always be in a place of simcha. Mitzvah Gdalias B'Simcha Tamid. That's not a Gemara. It's not a Medrash. Those are the words of Rabbi Nachman Bresler. But Tzarech L'Sboinei, we need to understand, in my Simcha mitzvah, if Simcha is a mitzvah, Madua Ein Zen Niska B'Torah Kedusha, then why is it that the Torah doesn't tell us that there's such a mitzvah? Look at Aish Lamed Beis. Now, Avshin Niska B'Torah Inina Simcha. Of course, the Torah does mention Simcha, but interestingly, it's found in the context of the Darkecha. Whereas you all know, in the Darkecha itself, we're told that it seems to be saying that all of this has befallen you, or Chalila could happen to you, because you're not serving Hashem b'simcha. And of course, the Arizal, everybody's talking about this. Simcha is something which is, again, a midah. Simcha seems to be something which is an additional part of our way of serving Kodesh Baruch Hu, not so essential that we would be punished for not being b'simcha. That's cause enough not to be happy. Just the fear of not being b'simcha. What does that mean? Everything is because of a lack of simcha. So we definitely find in the Torah such a thing. That's not telling us that pasuk is not telling us there's a mitzvah to be b'simcha stam all the time, tamid. You could interpret it to say that we're not serving Hashem b'simcha, meaning that your davening is not b'simcha. Let's say your learning is not b'simcha, your tefillin, your sukkah, your avodah Hashem is not b'simcha. That's what the pasuk seems to be talking about. But b'chlal, mitzvah lias b'simcha tamid, that a person should live every moment of his life in a state of simcha and being b'simcha, that the Torah doesn't seem to say at all. Or b'simcha b'stam. So I was talking about that to the women a few weeks ago, that they tried to understand the difference between the simcha of Mishnechnes Adamar b'simcha by Ada Rishon, by the first month of Ada, and the second month of Ada. The first month of Ada is, what's the reason to be happy? What happened? What's going on by the first month of Ada? There's nothing different. It's a month without any say perm cotton. But it wasn't. There were no special Yom Tovim. There were no special events that were commemorating or thinking about. And it was a winter month, Adar Rishon. It was to fix the calendar, that everything should work out. The Pesach should be at the right time. So what's Adar Aleph? So what I was talking about in Barichas, you have a chance to listen to that already. I don't know when the next time we're having Adar Rishon, a couple of years, but it's nageh to every single day to what we're talking about. So what I was talking about then was that that we generally are of the mindset that we wait for something to happen to make us happy. And we wait for simchas, we wait for a yontiv, we wait for Shabbos, we wait for something, some milestone in our lives, to see somebody that we were happy to see. We wait for something that will cause us, be a cause to rejoice. And this month of Adar Sheni, we have coming up very soon. We have, of course, the biggest simcha of the year, which is Purim. And we get ready for that, and we're anxious for that, and so on. But Other Rishon is really more of an Avoda of mitzvah tamid. To think about that sentence of what does that mean to be b'simcha tamid? Not waiting for something, not passively waiting for something in my life that's going to make me happy, but the Avoda of mitzvah Gdalia's b'simcha tamid, to bring simcha into my life, even though there's nothing spectacular that's going on, or even if things aren't going particularly well. If it's just bland and cold and dark and whatever it might be. But because simcha is something that's it's not a matter of just waiting for passively, for something to happen to you from the outside. Simcha is a midah that you have to work on within yourself. And the ikka time, I was mentioning, that's what I spoke about 2 weeks ago, the ikka time, or 3 weeks ago, the ikka time is the avoda of other rishon is without anything happening to you. You're working on this mitzvah of lias b'simcha tamid. But we need to understand, what does that mean, that it's a mitzvah gedol? What is this mitzvah? A mitzvah abel simcha b'stam, l'nis karesh b'torah. We don't find it mentioned in the Torah. This mitzvah of lias b'simcha tamid, to be always in a place of simcha. Which we see that by the Baal Shem, Talmidei Baal Shem, especially by Rabbi Nachman, but the whole Talmidei Baal Shem became the centerpiece of all of our, not just Avodah Hashem, but our entire life is simcha. And the greatest danger, when you look in the Chassidus, the greatest danger to a person, not just to his Yiddishkeit, but this entire existence is asos, is sadness. So, what is this mitzvah? Because when you look in it, just finishing that note, when you look in the Torah, the only place where we find simcha being mentioned is rak al mitzvahs. Al chagim, for instance, when the Yom Tovim samachta b'chagecha. It's just the Torah seems to be just talking about the happiness that comes with special events. But we're doing certain mitzvahs, achilas karbanis, where we find also by the eating of karbanis, but we don't find that it's a state of a perpetual state of mind, obligation to live in a world of simcha. We don't find that. So back inside the text. It said Shuvah. Now the answer to this is Kosev Rabbeinu Chaim Vital that we've spoken about over the years, which is not just regarding simcha, but bichlal. The question is really a much bigger question. We don't find Rabbi Chaim Vital. We don't find in the Torah that there are obligations regarding midas bichlal. For instance, the midah of zehirus and zvizus. If you go through the Mesilas Yesharim, we don't find the Torah commending us regarding the issue of laziness, not to be sad, whatever, all the midas. We don't find the Torah telling us specifically mitzvahs or aveirus regarding these things. So this is the question that Rabbi Chaim Vital asks in Shari Kedusha. So B'Sifrei Shari Kedusha was Elisham. So Rabbi Chaim says over there, Ein ha-midas meklal tayag mitzvahs. Midas are not counted, are not part of the 613 mitzvahs. Omnam, however, hein ha-chanes ikarias al tayag mitzvahs. So Rabbi Chaim says a tremendous yisod, that the midas themselves are not mitzvahs in the usual sense of being counted on the list of the 613 mitzvahs, but rather midas are hachanis ikarias. That midas are those ways, the ways of thinking and behaving that make a person eligible and qualified to live a life of Kedusha, to live a life of Torah mitzvahs. That was just the prerequisite. The prerequisite to being a Jew that Shomer Torah mitzvahs is hard work on who you are, to make yourself up to kli, to be able to receive the Or of Hashem and to be an Avodah Hashem. So he writes, Yan ki ein koch b'nefesh hasichlis l'kaimis hamitzvos l'ayidei haguf. He says that mitzvahs were never given to us to just be physical actions, even though most of them require specific physical actions. That's not the ikr of the mitzvah, though you have to do whatever we're told to do, and to stay away from things that we're not allowed to do. But ein koach b'nefesh hasichlis l'kaimis hamitzvos al yidei haguf, ela b'emtzos hanefesh hayisaydis hamechuberes el haguf. Mitzvahs are not meant to be carried out by a zombie, a body without a soul, just physical actions. Mitzvahs, Hashem gave us the mitzvahs that we should carry them out as human beings, as Jews, where there's an unbreakable connection between the guf and the neshama, between the body and the soul. And the midas of a person are embedded in the soul. Midas are not something that is not a matter of just a specific mechanical act. Midas is the person, the personality, the characteristics of the person. Therefore, since a person's midas are embedded within him in the soul, they're much, much harder to affect, to change, to repair, to improve. They're much harder than mitzvahs. A mitzvah, if you didn't do it, then do it. It's not. It's a matter of physically you didn't put on tefillin, chas v'shalom yesterday, so today put on the tefillin. But to say to a person that you shouldn't be angry anymore. Yesterday you were angry, today don't be angry. We put a lot of therapists out of business. And it's not pashut at all. At all. So midas ros, Rabbi Chaim says, of koshim and haveris, unrepaired, unrefined midas is much more complicated, it's a much bigger problem than haveris. Ma'od. Ma'avein zeh ma'od. And understand this well. Ki liyosam ikar miyasodas. He's explaining why the midas are not counted in the 613 mitzvahs, and are not even told. We're not even told in the Torah specifically about how the person to be. So he says, "Kiliyosem ikarim yisodas," because since the midas are ikarim, they're fundamental, basic yisodas of who the person is. L'nimdu b'chlal hamitzvahs. Next page Kuf Memvav. Hatliyus b'nefesh hasichlis. They're not included in the mitzvahs. However, more than anything, you have to be careful and work on midos ros. More, again, he's not saying you shouldn't, you should do one instead of the other. He said it's much more difficult, and you have to be much more attentive to, and work much harder on the midos. More than the physical act of the mitzvahs, positive and negative. Not because the mitzvahs are not important, but if you're lacking in midas, then your mitzvahs are not going to work out either. The mitzvahs are built upon the foundation of a healthy person. And that's why you see this, and it's very, very obvious that when you have individuals, we see unfortunately many of them, especially by young people, but not just by young people, who were raised being taught all the mitzvahs. They went to yeshiva and they were raised in homes where they're taught all the mitzvahs, and yet many of the chevra are not keeping these mitzvahs, and are doing Avedas. And when you get to the bottom of things, it's not 99% of the time, it's not because of theology. It's not like that 14-year-old has been dabbling in Aristotle or something, or all of a sudden he became like this theologian, and he's wondering, what proof is there for God's existence? That's not what is at the yesod, at the foundation of this individual's falling apart when it comes to Yiddishkeit. And the same thing when it comes to somebody that's not, I was just reading from somebody that a woman was complaining that her husband never goes to minyan, gets up on Shabbos at 11:30, 12 o'clock, davens for 15 minutes, and that's been going on for years. So that's if you ask this person, why are you not getting up to daven? Is that because you have sfeikis in Hashem's existence? You don't believe in God? Chas v'sholom. Is it because you don't believe in Torah Shabbat Peh, that it's important to daven, to get up to daven? Chas v'sholom, you think I'm happy Karis or something? So then why don't you go to shul? I'm not happy with my wife. Countless other things. I'm stressed out. With kids, it's harder for them to pinpoint what it is that's getting them down. What is it that's bothering them? But it's not religion. It has nothing to do with theology. That's not why people are there are a few people like that in the world. There have been historically. Some people that their fight is against Hashem. That's not the fight. The fight is with the darker demons inside of themselves. Which is the world of midas, not mitzvahs. It's not mitzvahs. If the kid is doing well emotionally and things are tweaked in that world of who he is as a person, so then he gets over the fact that some Rabbi insulted him, and now he's tzibrochen for the last 15 years, whatever it might be. Not that there's not reason or cause. There's plenty of reason and cause for all kinds of things. However, when you study this and you analyze this person's descent or fall from Yiddishkeit, it doesn't have to do with religion. It doesn't have to do with the Amunah. Sometimes Sveikis and Amunah. Usually the Midas, it's the Midas, and because the person feels then very, very guilty, very bad for not keeping things, then he's malbishit, that he enclothes his Midas issues, he enclothes it in something which is religious, and he doesn't know, how do I know this is true, and so on. That's certainly not the issue. The issue is Midas, not mitzvahs. Mitzvahs is not the issue. When a Jew, of course, a person wasn't raised with Yiddishkeit, he doesn't know. But if a person was raised with Yiddishkeit, and he learns, and he was taught, and so on. So the reason that he's not following the program is because of midas, not because of mitzvahs. It's not because he has a taiva to a yetzar. He has a yetzar. Everybody has yetzar, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and you pick yourself up, and you keep on going. But there's something inside of him that's broken, that's not allowing him to pick himself up, or that's driving him deeper into something which is ugly. But it's not because he has a problem with a Gemara in brachas or something. That's not why he's not saying brachas, because he didn't understand the Gemara in brachas, or because he doesn't believe that the Gemara is true. Are there people like that? But even if they tell you, I don't believe the Gemara in brachas, that's usually not what it is. It's something else, and the something else is at the yesod of who the person is, and it has to do with midas. So what Rabbi Chaim is saying is, if a person is healthy, we're just using the more modern terminology. Midas means if you are healthy, if you're healthy, emotionally healthy and well, and you have the midas that are required to be a person that can be an Avodah Hashem and can be a good father and a good husband. You'll be a good father. You'll be a good husband. It's not because the person doesn't believe that children don't need to be taken care of properly. You get some father that's horrible to his kids. What's the matter with you? Do you think this is the right way to? Do you think that in order for a child to be successful in this world, he needs to be abused and subjected to your negativity and criticism? First, he most likely won't see that at all because he has messed up midas. But even if you can get him to a point where he says, yeah, I see what you're saying, then he wouldn't tell you, yes, I think that children, it's necessary to raise children with nastiness, with abuse, and he would say such a thing. He would say no. He'd either deny that there's anything wrong with him, that is, most likely he'll say that his kid's messed up and his kid is a problem, it's not him. Or if he comes to a place of truth, he'll say, no, I agree that I should not have raised my kid that way. That's not the right way to raise a kid, but I can't. I can't. I just can't. My father was like that. My grandfather was like that. I come from a long line of nasty, critical people, and I never got hold of myself. I never changed myself, and that's who I am. And sorry that my kid's getting the same thing that I got. Whatever the emotional issues are. I'm miserable. Now everybody says I'm stressed out. When a person is midas are unpolished, unrefined, or chalila in a very bad place, then it's not just the mitzvahs that suffer. The mitzvahs suffer. Mitzvahs say, Mrs. Loy says, and his relationships suffer. Everything in his life is suffering because the yesod is the nefesh hasechlis. The yesod of the person is the person. That's the yesod. That's the yesod of the person. It's the person, and that person you take with you wherever you go, whether it's in the parenting or marriage or wherever you go, you take that person with you. So that's the yesod of a person. Is the person. Everything else in your life you build up upon the person. So your entire Yiddishkeit, everything, your marriage, your Yiddishkeit, everything is built upon the person. So the person is cracked and broken. So then the person can turn out to be very, very, very orthodox and very religious, but it's horrible. It's a terrible thing. His whole Yiddishkeit his whole way of keeping Yiddishkeit is messed up. There's no lack of that. I mean, we see that all the time, and because there's something wrong with him at the core. So Rabbi Chaim is saying that these are not counted as mitzvahs because they're the prerequisite of living a life of mitzvahs. It's what you need. It's the ingredients that are necessary in order for you to be on the program. If you don't have these ingredients, or these ingredients are imbalanced or off, so then the program then the 650 mitzvahs are all totally, either you're not doing them, you're not going to keep them, or if you keep them, it's going to be in some sort of a perverse way. Like, you'll throw yourself on a highway in front of thousands of cars because you're angry about something. You never like something nutty. Things that go on, especially in our holy land. So that hasn't, those idiots that are lying on the highway, whether they're religious or they're not religious, that doesn't have to do with religion or with politics. It's because they're nuts. I mean, just and so are their leaders. They're just deeply, deeply broken people. Not because it's not a matter of religion or politics. There are ways to make good points when it comes to religion and politics, instead of preventing people from getting their wives to the hospital to have a baby, or to mess up people's lives. There are ways to do that. The reason that you're doing that is not because of religion. It's not because Shabbos bothers you. It's not because the army bothers you so much. That's not what it is. It's mislavish in these inyanim of Shabbos and Limud Torah. All these loud masses. They're such big masmidim. The big masmidim, you know where they are? Where are they? They're in the Beis Medrash. That's where the masmidim are. That's the big masmidim. They're not hanging around all day and night or working. You're being Yerushalayim. You're just going shopping somewhere in Guli. You have these people walking around with signs for the last 45, 50 years. The same people. His kids are already still walking next to them. Chanting certain horrible, negative things. This is not because of religion. It's not because Shabbos is so dear to them. I'd like to see how these people live Shabbos. What's their Avodah on Shabbos? Their whole fun is being angry about people not keeping Shabbos. When it comes to Shabbos, that's a big downer for them. I know some of those guys. When I was younger, I don't stay in touch with them. And I knew some of them from many, many years ago. You'd think that they have a fiery Shabbos by tzaddikim and that they're up till 3 in the morning fearing Tish. Shabbos, they're out of business. Their avodah is until it gets a little bit later in the day, or when they're able after shul to get angry people who are driving on Shabbos. That's not their avodah. Is not Shabbos. It's not because of Shabbos that they're screaming and yelling those whatever 100 Mishagoyim. It's not because of Shabbos. They're on fire Shabbos. No, this one's angry at his mother. This one's angry at his wife. This one is broken because he never made a penny in his life and he's embarrassed and humiliated, being a schnorr. Each one is a story. Just like every single, the ones that come around collecting, they're all stories. Everyone's a story. All of us are stories. Those are very extreme stories. But at the core, it's an unhealthy person. When you see somebody that's 25 years old and he's coming around collecting, it's Rahmanis, and you give him something. But why aren't you working? Because of the issues of your life. Work it out. Life is not easy. And you had a couple of hard things happen to you, or whatever it is. What are you walking around collecting money with your friend? I'm not saying this not to give them. You give them something, but that's not the point. The point is that it's not about the inyan. It's something unhealthy inside. And that's what Rabbi Chaim is saying, is that it's the midas. The midas are not mitzvahs, because a mitzvah is a checklist of things that you need to do, and do them well, and put your heart and soul into it. But if you don't have a heart and soul, then what do you do? So those are just physical acts. Physical acts you can command. The mitzvahs, the midas, mitzvah Gdalya is b'simcha tamid. That's something else. That's what we're learning. That's the yesod of the mitzvahs. That's the person. Kibiyoso bal midas tovas benakel yikayim kol mitzvahs. And if you're a person of midas tovas and you work on your midas tamid always, then mitzvahs are gavaldik. Mitzvahs are terrific. Mitzvahs are the greatest thing in the world. You enjoy them. But the same thing when it comes to marriage. If you work on yourself, you work on your midas. And again, I'm not talking about when there are people that are a couple that they don't belong to. But if it's two nice people, you work on your midas, then marriage is gavaldik. Marriage is a wonderful thing. But if you haven't, you take yourself into your marriage with all the stuff, and if you're a lazy person or an angry person, whatever it might be, if you have these things and you haven't worked on them, then they're going to surface in your marriage, and it's going to come out as being a machlokes between the husband and wife. But the truth of the matter is that this machlokes is within yourself. And if that would have been resolved, and that's something you would work on, so then your wife would be a tzedekis, your husband would be a tzaddik. But because of all the internal imperfections and issues and problems which you take into everything of your life, so then everything you build upon those bad midas, you try to build building. This building is called marriage. It starts to fall apart. You try to build Yiddishkeit. Because your building is in quicksand, I never actually saw quicksand, just like in TV shows when we were kids. There was some guy that was drowning. But you don't have to see it in the movie. We see around everywhere people sinking. And it seems that the harder they try to get out, that's the whole thing with the quicksand. I don't know if there is such a thing, but that's the harder you push, the more you sink in, because they're pushing at the wrong things. Pushing the wrong things. So when you have, for instance, I see this all the time. You'll have a bacha, and this bacha has some serious issues, and the Rabbi gives only one eitzah. What's the eitzah? You have to learn more. Your problem is that you don't learn enough. This bacha's got serious issues. He's not learning enough, according to your opinion. Could be he's learning too much, by the way, for him who he is, but he's not learning enough. That's a symptom of something else. Why isn't he on the program? So you're just saying, take this and you'll feel better in the morning. That's pretty much, a summary of the general advice that goes on in a lot of places. So it's the same way like when we were kids. No matter what happened to you, you take this aspirin. They used to give you the aspirin. I mentioned. But in camp, you could break your leg, and there was some lady that was knitting in the office or something, and she said, "Just this is." No matter what happened to you, you could have diabetes or possibly a heart attack. She's knitting, and she's take 2 of these. That was the end of it. Everything is one medicine for everybody. That's all. You're not learning enough. Yeah, Torah is some chaim. Torah is something that gives life. Torah is medicine. Torah is gewaldig. But you know that certain medications that if you give it to a person whose sickness is coming from something else, then the medication you're giving can make it much worse. That's why the Torah could be a sam misa. Chazal say that. That's why the Torah Kedusha. That's why the Torah itself could be dangerous for a person. Which doesn't mean we're not supposed to learn, we're not supposed to keep mitzvahs. But if it's an unhealthy person, the Torah can make him even more unhealthy. Because you're pouring something holy into something that's broken. And the holiness Davka could have, when it meets up with that brokenness, could create some guy lying in the street, or throwing rocks at somebody on Shabbos. Again, there are very few people that do such things, but it could create something. I'm just giving an extreme example. It could create something very unholy. And the Torah and the mitzvahs that you pour into this person who's unhealthy just makes the unhealthiness, the sickness even worse, more extreme. And not only that, but now the person has an excuse. Why is he so angry? He's angry. He's angry because his kids are not firm enough, or his wife's not firm enough, or the world is not firm enough. He's angry. It's not about firm. He's angry, and because of that, he sees everywhere he looks. He sees things that, and he blames everything with Yiddishkeit. And it's a whole religious thing, and then if you argue with him, you're arguing with Hashem, and all this stuff. It's because of midas. It's not because of Yiddishkeit. Look in the bottom Reish Lamed Gimel. Novi od ma'at melashon HaKodesh. Chol zman hayos hamidas aros kfus b'adam. As long as the bad midas are kfus, are fixed, are not fixed, meaning are stuck in the person, nimnuhu melekayim haTorah mitzvahs. He's not really able to keep Torah mitzvahs. Certainly not in the right way. Oftentimes not at all. And even if Rabbi Chaim says that even if he is keeping mitzvahs, it's not l'shem shamayim. Like I was saying about the people screaming and protesting all this stuff. It's not l'shem shamayim. And it's b'torach God. The Yiddishkeit is b'torach God. B'torach God. Meaning it's very heavy on them to keep Yiddishkeit. It's a tremendous. It's very, very hard. All of Nemar says in the pasuk, Nezem Zahav Ba'av Chazir. It's a very powerful pasuk in Mishlei. Like a golden ring in the nose of a pig. What does that mean? See, a pig is the symbol of that which is low and filthy. A chazir, no? But you could dress up the chazir. You put a golden, expensive, beautiful ring in the nose of the pig. You put a beautiful golden ring. So what does that mean? He says, Ki od tumaso ba. You take a person who's all messed up, who's a chazir, who's got all kinds of horrible, negative, dark midas, and ki od tumaso ba malubash torcha klipas. As I just mentioned, the Gemara in a few places. So you take a person who's be'etzem in terms of his midas is a chazer, is a pig, and you get the most expensive talis and tefillin for him. So it's a golden ring in the nose of a chazer. You prop him up under the chuppah with some nice kala, and the people that know this guy really, really well, and they gave him all the fantastic recommendations to the girl's family, but they really know that this girl's in trouble. They're sitting there. I don't know if any of you ever sat at chuppahs where you were very uncomfortable about about what was happening. I've had to be in such chuppahs where I was dealing with situations, and then they're going to the chuppah and everybody's singing and excited, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is what's going to be over here. And I always try to be mechazek myself. Well, marriage will make him come around. But I'm looking at this girl, I'm thinking, oh yeah. Well, you don't know what you're in for. Because I know this guy for 10 years, and you're in for it. And vice versa. So, just because you put the wedding gown on the cow doesn't mean that she's not a chazi, you understand? Same as just because you put you put the chuppah over the head, you put a talus on this guy, it doesn't make him, could be putting a golden ring on a chazi. And discovered relatively quickly, either one of them is a chazer or they're both chazer. It doesn't mean that they can't work it out, but it's hard. It's not just a matter of what you do, it's a matter of who you are. You come under the chuppah with the person that you are. And you go into the marriage with that person. And that's what the pasuk is telling us we have to be afraid of. The Torah itself can be a sam, can be a sam, lo zach and asle sam amavis. The golden ring doesn't automatically make you into a holy person. You're putting a golden ring in the nose of a chazan, and then it becomes. And the point is that the whole picture, of course, is very absurd. If you think of it, you take a disgusting, filthy chazan, you put some gold ring on his nose. It's absurd. Kashi is Gabriel Yitzov Yilachem Bo. V'yasam elov midosav haros ayidei torach. Rabbi Chaim says when a person works hard to overcome and to repair, to fix, and to refine his negative midas, his destructive midas, yikayim haTorah mitzvahs, and then with that person, that healthy person, he's mekayim Torah mitzvahs, yikar tzadik gomer. Yeah, we could talk about it, tzadik. Not a chazer with a golden ring. A chazer with a pair of tefillin. A chazer that's a big masmid, while his wife and kids are dying. Now we have a tzaddik. Now it's a true Yirei Shemayim, a Gibra Kodesh. There's always Yetzar. Even if you have wonderful midas, Yetzar means you have to fight with Yetzar. But the person's equipped to fight. If a person's midas are not healthy, he's not equipped to fight against the Yetzar. How are you supposed to fight against the Yetzar? With what? You're not equipped to fight against the Yetzar. So it's not enough that you're officially signed up to the program and that you have emunah and so on. Of course, that's all very, very important, and we believe every single Jew has that within him. That emunah that he heard that Hashem say Anochi Shalom. But if the midas are not there, so then the emunah doesn't necessarily work out to make you into a person who's keeping mitzvahs. And even if you are keeping mitzvahs, that you're keeping mitzvahs in a way that is making you into a tzaddik of a person. You keep mitzvahs your whole life. It didn't make you into the tiniest little bit of a tzaddik, even though you get up every morning for shachris. And you put on tefillin, you never miss a day in your life, and you sit in the sukkah on sukkahs, and you eat matzah on Pesach. That doesn't make you into a tzaddik. You could train a monkey to also eat matzah. Monkeys are monkeys. So then the second that something happens, the monkey starts jumping on the table, and there's a monkey. So some of the biggest fights that people have is dark around the Shabbos table, or fights for Pesach are already well in motion at this point. Not by the people at home, only by the people who are going away. Or if you have one of the people that wants to stay home, the other one wants to go away. Those are the big fights. The big fights. The $85,000 question. So, but the biggest fights, Shabbos. There are people who have told me that Shabbos is the worst trigger. You know that word trigger? It's used a lot lately. That the thought of Shabbos, and Achas when it comes to Shabbos, they shut down emotionally because they have horrible memories of The parents fighting on Shabbos. Horrible memories of Shabbos. Shabbos is associated with terrible things. They kept Shabbos. They made Kiddush at the beginning, they made Havdalah at the end, but everything in between was Gehenna. Yom HaShishi. Ay, Shabbos Yom Melucha. Some of the worst battles are fought. Shabbos. There are many reasons for that. Mostly because they're actually spending time with each other. And when a person who's a chazir spends time with somebody, he usually gets involved in chazerish things, you understand. That's the nature of a person who's a chazir. He's a chazir. He's a chazir. And when you spend time with him, the chazerishkeit has a way of coming out. And there are many, many other reasons to have why that is Shabbos. But people have told us to me that Shabbos is the worst trick. It's the Shabbos or Pesach. You have to the Seder. The second you think of the word Pesach, it sets off all kinds of alarms. This Pesach was terrible. It's terrible, and a lot of times it has to do with chumras and Yiddishkeit, religious things, all kinds of stuff that seem to be that have to do somehow with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So you could do you could be keeping the Torah mitzvahs your whole life. You kept all the mitzvahs that I used to do one, and you're so far from being a tzaddik. Not only that, you use your Yiddishkeit as a weapon against people. Your mitzvahs are weapons. Your Yiddishkeit becomes a weapon to hurt people. The very same thing that Hashem's Baruch gave you to give life to yourself and to others, you use to hurt people. And because your terrible midas come out wrapped up in 1,000 film. Comes in 1,000 film. It's a chazir wearing 1,000 film. You never, even in a simple thing, you could be in shul. You could stand there watching, or you could be at a Baruch Hashem, I have a lot of chasnas lately. You're standing there, you're davening at the chasna, or you're in shul, and there's somebody that's saying Kaddish. And there are two people talking next to him totally out loud, right next to this person that's saying Kaddish. Talking like this, no. Like it doesn't exist. And they're standing there like with it, now I wouldn't say with a little siddur because now they're holding the phone. Holding the phone. And they're talking next to a person that's saying Kaddish. Like he doesn't exist. So what's that? So the mincha itself, it's not about the 613 mitzvahs. He's davening mincha. But the fact that you're davening mincha doesn't make you into a sensitive enough person to even stop talking right next to a guy who's saying Kaddish. So who's saying that? You can't even stop talking next to the person saying Kaddish. Or if you tell him to be quiet, then he'll yell at you and get angry at you or something like that. Carry on. With the davening, with the mincha, with the being on the program, with all the mitzvahs, all 650 mitzvahs. Daven's in the minyan. But he's a chazir that's davening. If you pull the towels off of his head, you'll see a chazir. You'll see the face of a chazir. It's a chazir that's davening. That's not what Hashem had in mind, to make a minyan of chazerim. It's a chazir that's davening. That's what Rabbi Chaim is saying. So you're asking, why don't we have, on the list of 613 mitzvahs, why don't we have, like, being a nice guy? Why doesn't it say, be nice guys? The Baruch Shalom is talking to people who are nice. The people who are not nice, Baruch Shalom's not talking to. First he's saying to the person, put yourself together. I have what to tell you. I'd like you to put on 1,000 film. I'd like you to get married. But that's when you're talking to a person. Not if you're talking to a chazir. What are you going to tell a chazir? Put on 1,000 film? That's going to make the chazir into a tzaddik, into a mensch. The Yiddishkeit is going to make that person into a person, into a mensch. You see that? I don't know how the way kids are raised nowadays, and how they have here a little bit younger than me, and some that are more my age. But you could see, you can go someplace now, you'll see that there'll be a table. There'll be like there's a crowd, and you'll have 20, 30 kids that are sitting down, and the fathers see, their parents see, that there are older people that are standing around. These kids wouldn't even notice that there are older people standing, and even their fathers don't tell the kids to get up. Where I come from, you get your ear taken off. I'm saying literally, your ear would be taken off. If you were a kid and you were sitting there was an old person standing, your ear would be taken off. Not just by your father, by some other yid. And none of us went off the derech because of the broken ear. You get your ear taken off. Do you open your eyes, look up, you see what's over here? You're sitting down, you're 9 years old, you're 10 years old. You don't see what's going on, there are people standing here. I mean, the most obvious things. And oblivion. And you're going to put Torah into entitled children. Selfish, self-centered, entitled children. More Gemara, more Rashi, more Taisus. It's all good. I'm a big fan of teaching Torah. Pour more into little baby pigs, little piglets that haven't been taught the olive base of what it means to have Darkecha for an older person. Darkecha for a person. Whether it's somebody to stand up to give a seat for someone that's Jewish or someone that's not Jewish without going into the sugi of it, they say it. Because they're also there, even to stand up in front of to give a seat for somebody. So you can sit there, you're going to be saying your tillim, or somebody else is standing, you'll sit there and you say your tillim. Just to get the ear taken off. So a stranger will come up behind you and just twist your ear and pull you away from the chair. If someone would do that now, the person would take the other person, but the father of that kid would take that person to court to sue the person. How dare you touch my Yankee? My Yankee doesn't get up for anybody, even me. It's bizarre. But you could, and you'll pour more Yiddishkeit into this kid. Yeah, more Yiddishkeit. And he could become a very, very frum, self-centered, angry person. But very frum. Or whatever, the other option, which is just to run away from the law. But pour into him more and more. And the reason that it's not working out so well is because he has to learn more. He didn't learn enough. If he would learn more, then he'd be okay. Learning more, again, that's what Rabbi Chaim is saying, is pouring into somebody that's not healthy. Chazal say, it could be a sad misa. It could be making matters worse, not necessarily better. We'll go down. We'll continue with Shem the bottom of that note.
This year Shalom has a beautiful mashal. So the storehouse is bottom right is the windows. So if it's rotten.